By taking photos over a 4-hour period in a time-lapse format, I'm going to show you the incredible difference that the changing light makes on the landscape. I set up a camera in a fixed position and made 2 time-lapse videos, one around sunset and the other one around sunrise, and then I merged the 2 time-lapses together. I'll show the whole time-lapse towards the end of this video, but in the meantime, here are the 9 selects in the order they were taken, and here they are as a grid of images. The second thing I want to show you in this video is how reconnaissance and planning can help prepare you for amazing sunrise photographs. Here are a few from my sunset and sunrise visits to this location. So I'm here at Godley Head at the gun emplacements, or gun emplacement number 3 actually. I would be outside, but it's so windy I wouldn't be able to record the audio. I've got a time-lapse running, which that's going well at least. Haven't been able to get much video with audio because, well, the wind's been so bad, but it's dropping a little bit now that the sun's gone down. So I'm just hunkering down here to try and get out of the wind. It's really windy up here. Too windy to record audio and stand up at the top. I'm up here to try and get some really epic landscape shots of the gun emplacement behind me, which is a bit of a favourite location. Been up here quite a few times over the years and got some really good shots. So my goal this week is see if I can't better the shots I've already got, you know, get a really epic still image. It's a pretty tall order if I'm trying to achieve that in a week, unless I get the weather conditions really spectacular, because lighting plays such a big role in making an exceptional shot. I give it a go, and it's important to have a goal, I think, if you're heading out to a landscape to do some photography or video. I'm going for the big epic landscape, and that takes priority. If I get some video, if I get some close-ups, some experimental shots, that's great, but not at the cost of the landscape shot. So I'm just on my way out to Godley Head. It's about 5:30 in the morning. I'm going to set up for a time lapse, hopefully starting at 6 o'clock. Catch the sunrise, get the changing light of the hour around sunrise. Incredibly diverse, so should be good. It's quite windy, which was forecast, but this is really the only opportunity I get, so I have to just try for the best. So I've arrived out here at Godley Head. It's dawn, probably about half an hour to sunrise. I've set up time lapse a little bit later than what I'd hoped, but got it going by about 20 past 6. So that's the main thing I wanted to get working. Beautiful morning here, bit windy, unfortunately. Wind seems to be the bane of my life, but really nice morning, fairly clear sky, should be a really good sunrise, and setting up the time lapse went quite well. One advantage of doing a reconnaissance the day before a dawn shoot is I was able to work out the best way to get up here. On the afternoon of my reconnaissance, I picked a bike path that in hindsight was a bit rough. It took me a lot longer than I'd expected. Now, I wouldn't want to have been floundering around on that bike path in the dark. So by coming the day before and doing a reconnaissance in the daylight made the morning much faster, more efficient. I knew exactly where I was going. I'd also run through setting up the time lapse, where it was situated, my composition, all that sort of stuff. It's much easier to do in the daylight. It's still about 20 minutes before sunrise. It's a really nice time for light, so I want to make the most of it and have a look around for some vantage points. Usually the first thing I do is get up high. It's the best way to see where the best spots are. So this is quite a good spot. I can see that when the sun rises and it hits those cliffs over there and the shoreline, mountains in the background, it's going to be quite a nice shot. But I've got a little bit too much foreground, so I'm going to have to run, jump the fence and go to the edge of that ridge there so I can get a bit more of a view down into the beach area where the cliff is. Be a much better composition, but I think that's going to be quite good, but it needs the sun on it to brighten it up. So around 5 to 7 I'll be looking out for that shot. I can also see that this shot here is going to be quite a nice framing. Once again, when the sun comes up, really need a bit of contrast in the building and the hills in the background. Really nice composition, as long as I can get a bit of height here. I think that'll work really well, a bit of a panorama. Yeah, so in about 10-15 minutes, and then continuing for about 10 or 15 minutes, there'll be good light. Time lapse has probably been running for about 10 minutes. Just need to check and make sure that it's working as I expect. So I'm going to line this shot up because the sun's going to pop over the horizon. Well, it's just about to. So I want to be ready for when the sun hits the building. Always set up the tripod first, get that stable because it governs where the camera goes. Lens hood on. I tend to use lens hoods as default because even when it's not direct light striking the lens, you still get lens flare and it still softens the image. And I'm likely to have sun hitting the lens, which makes it even worse, so I always use a lens hood. They also protect the lens if you happen to drop your camera, which I have done from time to time. A vertical stitch for this shot gives me a few more options. I think I'll put in my remote release so I don't have to shake, I don't run the risk of moving the camera when I click the shutter. Just checking all my basic settings. Also I want the ISO down from 800 to 100, maximum quality. Leave it on autofocus for now, but then I'll probably switch to manual focus when I take the shot. By switching to manual focus, avoids any errors of focus shifting as I move the shot around. So that's focused now. I'm going to switch it to manual focus so it won't change. And I'm going to go on to f11 so that I get good depth of field. It's a 50mm lens, so it's not as good depth of field or as wide depth of field as a wide angle lens. Alright, here comes the sun, ready to go. So I've taken one panorama. I just want to wait for the light to get a little bit stronger, so there's a little bit more light on the foreground. Sun's just above the horizon. Also I can see the lights getting a bit stronger on the hills in the background. I've used a technique that I described in an earlier video where I'm using the grid on the back of the camera to line up the next shot, because I don't have a panorama device to keep the horizon level as I move the camera around. I can use this grid to pick the next point to move the camera to, and also make sure that I get at least 33% overlap. Works really well. You can use it with handheld camera as well. I can see the light changing behind me too, so as soon as I finish this I'm going to run across there, get that cliff face. That looks really good at the moment, so I think I'll take this shot now and then head over. I want to be quite quick because the light's really at its best now. A bit of colour in it. It's quite soft but still a good amount of contrast. Ooh. See a nice shot over here, up a little bit, looking towards the gun emplacement with the hills in the background. It'd be good if I get a bit higher, but this is about as high as I could go. I think it'll work quite well polarized. I quite like the grass on the top of the roof. Looks kind of interesting. So I want to be clear why I'm here. I'm here to get the best shot I've ever taken from this location. Now that's an aspirational goal because the chances are pretty slim, because I put myself under a bit of time pressure with regards to I need to get a video out by the end of the week. So the lighting conditions here aren't ideal. It's been a nice morning, but very little cloud around, and cloud often makes it much more interesting with the lighting. It's still worth coming out, and dawn was really nice, and I've got a time lapse running in the background which will illustrate to you how much the light changes around sunrise or sunset, an hour either side. It's really the critical time for landscape photographers. I think it's when you get your most bang for buck and the most spectacular images are taken. So I've already been up here and done a reconnaissance in an afternoon where I stayed on till dark to do an evening shoot and also run the time lapse. The reason I like to do a reconnaissance in the afternoon is it's much better doing it in full light with plenty of time, so you can check out the access if there's any issues. You work out how long it takes you to get to the location, and you can also have done a bit of scouting to work out, well, where are the most promising compositions? Where should I be standing when the light's at its premium? And all of that really helps if you're under time pressure, especially early in the morning if you're going for a sunrise shoot. You don't want to be founding around in the dark, wondering where to stand or where's your best composition. So I'm also documenting this process as well, which makes it a little bit tricky. I have tried to prioritize the light for getting the nice still images. If you can't do a reconnaissance, you can still do quite a bit of planning before you go to a location. Google's your best friend. Also, some of the AI apps these days are pretty useful. I use Perplexity quite a bit. You can find out if there are any access issues getting to the location. For instance, if there's a car park, is it locked after a certain time, which might be the case here. You can work out roughly how long it will take you to get to the location. Particularly the weather is one thing I research quite a bit, because that's the most critical thing regarding the success of a landscape shoot. Yeah, so you can do an awful lot before you visit a location. Look up photographs that other people have taken from the same area, give you an idea of what's promising or what's in the area. I also use some apps to work out where the sun's going to rise and where the sun's going to set and where it is at different parts of the day. Tide timetables, if tide's a critical thing. So it's been a pretty successful morning. The light wasn't super spectacular, but I managed to get the time lapse running a little bit late, but still got sunrise and an hour or so after. Got a few interesting shots of the light changing. So worthwhile trip coming up here. Nice sunny day. Should be a good ride home. So here are my bullet point takeaways from this shoot. Enjoy the process. The good images will come, you just need to do the work. Learn something new from every shoot. That may mean you need to embrace your mistakes, and little by little you improve. Think of it as an infinite game. Don't forget you can put yourself in the composition to make it more interesting. Do some planning and reconnaissance if you can. It won't guarantee success, but it will increase your chances. Things may not turn out as you expect, but if you just get out there and take some photos, something will turn out, and something's better than nothing, right? Thanks for watching.